Good morning. It's Fresh Friday on Seasons in the Vine, and I'm Crystal Woods. I changed it up a little bit. This is our 10th Fresh Friday. 10 whole weeks. We have met on Friday for a few minutes, and I am loving it, and I hope you are as well. I hope you feel encouraged and maybe a little challenged after we have our little chat, and I'm excited about today. I really feel like a couple years ago when I was in my season of hiddenness, well, it's not even been 2 full years, but a while ago, a couple of seasons ago, that the Lord was really calling me to open up my life. And that's what I'm doing with Seasons in the Vine, that ministry that I've started, and just kind of seeing where it goes. And these Fresh Fridays are definitely a part of that. But I believe there's so much power in our story. And it's just times where we can point to God here and God here and God here, and he did this and he did this and he did this, and it's a lineage, it's a legacy of God in our life and in my life. And so I share my stories, and so I'm going to go way back to about 8 years ago, believe it or not. Oh, maybe not, maybe like 6 years ago. I'm thinking about how old my Kate is. So 6 years ago, we were needing to move from the house that we lived in. My husband had lost his business, and I had been laid off from my full-time job, and the finances were tanking, and life was going to make a really sudden change, and it was devastating. We really loved where we lived. We loved the area we were in, and to not be able to stay there was very, very painful for our children and for ourselves. But there was no option. Like, we were going to have to move. And so the Lord in his faithfulness, see, this is me pointing, the Lord in his faithfulness had already provided a place for us to go where we could take our animals, and if there was land in the house, everybody still had their own room, so we didn't have to overlap, and it was beautiful provision. But I was in a really bad place. I really just wanted God to show up differently than he did. And I was like, no, but God, it would be so much better. What a testimony it would be if you did it this way, which was my way. And fortunately, God just really doesn't cave to our begging and pleading like that. Ultimately, his plan is his plan, and it's going to be done his way. And it's really a matter of whether we get on board and how quickly that happens. And I was really, 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 really holding my feet deeply in the ground and being super resistant to this move. But we were slowly getting ready, but my heart was not in it. And we had painted some rooms, and I had moved. I have a lot of books. I am a teacher by profession and just a book lover in general. So when we move, it is a thing because I have so many books. And but we had begun to move into this new place. We had access to it early, and we had time. And so the Lord was so gracious in all of that. But like I said, I wasn't in a great place. And so what happened was we could stay in the house that we were in the area that we really loved through the summer. And then when the school year started, we needed to be in our new place up here in Brogue. And I was going back and forth. My husband at this point in time was like, whenever you're ready to go, we'll go. Wasn't putting a lot of pressure on me because the pressure was already there, because he said, this is where we're moving. And I needed to just go along with it and follow. And you could see where I might have some resistance to that because I'm a leader and my husband's a leader. And so sometimes, we can really hit heads. Ultimately, my fight wasn't against my husband, though. It was against the Lord, because this is what he was doing. So to keep things moving, we could stay this summer. And I remember sitting in the living room one night, just pretty tortured. I had already put the kids to bed. My husband worked nights at the time, so I was by myself. And I really was saying, when do you want us to move? When do you want us to move, God? Should we stay or should we go? How's that going to work out? What's the point in staying another 3 months in this house? But then we could have the summer here with all of our friends. I just really didn't know. And the Father just rushed in God just was right. I can remember it vividly. It is a moment in time. It's another mark of saying God was there. And over my shoulder, I just heard this voice. And it was not an audible voice, but it was pretty darn close, folks. Like, it was God, and I knew what he was saying. So it was very, very, very clear. And he said, Crystal, you can stay where you're at. You can stay here, but your future is there. Your future is there. And when I heard those words, it was like a release. It was like the tension, because see, I wasn't ready to move to the next season. I wasn't ready for the next story. I didn't want the next story. And yet it was time to go. And God, he wasn't going to abandon me if I stayed. If we would have stayed there in Pilesville another 3 months, he would have been there with us. But what God was trying to say is that you're staying in the old season. You're staying in the past. And I really need you to go into the future. I want you to go there. I said need. God doesn't really need anything. But he desired me to move into the next season. And so there was this pivotal moment where it was like, I want you to move from this place. It's time for you to move because your future is there. Well, when you hear from God that way, you can move pretty quickly after that. And by goodness, we moved 2 weekends later. And so like I was ready to roll. And so I wanted to share that with you because our stories speak to other people's stories. And so if you're in a transition, if you're moving from one past season into a new season and there's some resistance, that's okay. But just know that it's time to move from here. It's time to let this go. It was no longer time for us to stay in that limbo, knowing we had to leave, but not having to leave yet. The decision needed to be made so that our future could start, the next season could start. And so be encouraged if you're in a place like that. I'll share this one testimony. One of my favorite worship leaders, Melissa Helsler, she is located in North Carolina. Her and her husband wrote the song No Longer Slaves, which I know is a really popular one. She's really fantastic, and I love her story, and she has a chronic illness, and really it's better you just hear it from her. You could look her up. But long story short, for a long time she was waiting for a healing, a physical healing to happen. And one day she met with the Lord, and it's this beautiful testimony, and he just tells her, it's time to leave this place. Like, that isn't what's going to happen at this moment in time. And I need you to move forward. I want you to move forward. And so that was very similar to this situation with us moving to Brogue. The resistance was in me not letting go of the past, but it is over. And you know that verse in Isaiah where it says, forget the former things. I'm doing a new thing. Can't you perceive that it's springing up, or can't you see it springing up? That is really powerful. And that's been spoken to me again more recently. So this was like 7 years ago or so, that verse and that moment with the Lord that evening played such a huge role. But it was spoken to me again last September. And so over a year ago, because I was grieving what was lost. I was grieving what wasn't going to be again, or it was just done. And I was a wreck over this season in my life. And this woman that I didn't even know, Bonnie, she might be watching. Hello. She met me at a women's thing at our church, and she just had that word for me. And it was very freeing. Like, I have to stop living where I no longer am called to live. I must move where God is. I must move where the light is, this light that's coming through the window. I have to follow after him and leave everything else behind. The regrets and the love and what I cared for and the passion, because that was in an old season. And now a new season is upon me. And it's upon you, perhaps, wherever you are in your life. And in that situation, it was time to shift, and I had to leave that place. If you have to leave a place, if it's time, then you need to do it. And know and trust that God is already in the next season. He's in the next story. And he is ready to work again all of the things in your life for good, to work all of those things according to his purposes and his plans. And so you can trust that if I'm saying goodbye to this, there is a hello to something else. And I'm not going to just blanket statement by saying it's better, but I can tell you it's always better to be in the will of God than not. But the way we measure things, whether they're good or better or bad or whatever, we really have no idea what we're saying, because only God can really judge stuff like that. I like how my plan was, it would have been better, God. This would have been a better testimony if you would have done this. Well, who the heck am I to say to God what I think is better than him? I'm forgetting my position, which we talked about in the week that I covered suffering. And so if you're in that moment and you're fighting God on something, it's time to remember your position and to forget the former things. And you have to leave this place. And so wherever you are today, I don't know if that's speaking directly to you or not. I know it's speaking to some friends, and it certainly has spoken to me in the past, even very recently. Some things that are dead are just dead, and they need to be left behind in order to move forward into whatever the next season is. And so be encouraged, be strengthened. Maybe I'll talk about this topic again because I feel like I just hit a little bit of a well. But be encouraged to look at the lineage of how God has been faithful to you and know that he will continue in his faithfulness in the next season. And if this was speaking to you, or we need to talk more about it, send me a message or a comment. Let me know what's going on. I'd love to encourage you in any transition that you might be in. But it's time to leave this place. And so I will leave you with that. It's time to leave this Fresh Friday. Thanks for joining me on the 10th one. God bless, and I will see you next week. Bye.